Let's talk about addiction. So, we all have addictions in our lives, and everyone's addiction is different. It could be food, it could be drugs, alcohol, it could be a person, it could be anything. It comes within itself a stigma, but the actual definition of it is completely different than what most people believe it to be. Now, in general, an addiction is something that people need to, or think they need, in order to function. And as I've always said, there's nothing outside of us that is required in order for us to function at our fullest. Absolutely nothing, other than maybe an alarm to wake us up during the day. But even with that, our bodies are so tuned to the universe and our paths that we wake up when we're supposed to. Like, for example, I notice that I wake up the same time every day. The same time. As long as I don't go to bed late, I wake up the same time every morning. So our bodies are tuned. So with that, going back to addictions, we have to realize that people use these things not only to function, but to be able to mask or numb the problems that they face on a daily basis. Addiction is their savior and saves them from those things. So if you happen to have a bad marriage and you're being abused or what have you, and you're addicted to drinking wine every day, of course, we're going to try to say, hey, drinking wine every day isn't a bad thing. It's sometimes recommended and so forth and so on. But when you have to drink constantly all day in order for you to function and not think about the marriage that you're in, the abuse, and even after an abuse episode, that's the first thing you go to. This is one small part of the biggest whole of the addiction. So when people are addicted to drugs or alcohol, they use it to function. They use it to be an everyday functioning member of society. And that can't be. There's nothing that is outside of us that we absolutely need in order to do anything. Nothing. Because we are fully equipped to do every single thing that it is that we need on this planet and deal with on this planet in this life. Absolutely nothing. So usually with people who have addictions, like life-altering addictions, there are some addictions that are more dangerous than others. And of course, these are the addictions that I'm discussing today. We're talking about physical danger, life danger. We're talking about the life-altering ones. We're not talking about being addicted to TV and you're just brain dead. Okay, well, that's something else. But as far as drug and alcohol addiction, which we'll focus on, these are the things that really need to be looked at, because there's so many facets to this. There are people who were surrounded in a trap house. They grew up in a house, born in a trap house. They were born to drug parents, whether it be a drug dealer or a drug addict. But they were born in this type of situation. And that kind of puts them in a disadvantage, because then they don't understand anything else. They've been surrounded with it and that's all they know. So drugs is their life. Then they become victim to the addictions and so forth and so on. And those are very special individuals, because it doesn't necessarily mean that they have the innate propensity. It's just that that's what their environment is. As with anything, it's hard to separate yourself from those things that have been ingrained since childhood. We have individuals that are not fully equipped to handle stress and other things in life that causes them to go that route. People who had rough lives, childhoods, and so forth, and they started drinking or taking drugs early. Individuals who may be in a relationship now and is abused, and that's their refuge, the drugs or alcohol. So they feel numb, so they don't feel these pains. A person who was sexually assaulted and they're traumatized, and every time those thoughts come in, they have to run to this addiction that they have. These are the kinds of individuals that, again, they don't really have an innate propensity to be an addict. It's just that life has been too much for them to handle, and they finally found something that helped them to be able to cope with their everyday life. And that's what role these things play. And it's not the specific drug or alcohol that these people are addicted to. They're addicted to the feeling that these things bring to them, the comfort, the level of joy that comes along with these things. When we drink, just in general, when you go to a bar, you may have a friend that say, hey, let me get some of this liquid courage up in me so I can dance with so-and-so. Even then, that's a minor indication that a person may be struggling with something on the inside. Because if a person is 100% confident, if they fully understand themselves and they know that they are 100%, whatever it is that they see themselves as, then nothing can topple that. They shouldn't falter from that path. But it's like, there could be a guy who's CEO of a large company, intelligent, rich, but he has a hard time with women. And every time he goes out to court or do whatever in that dating space, he's always being turned down, or he's always embarrassing himself, or there's so many low vibrating things with this individual. And the only way he feels like he can succeed in dating and landing a person, let's start there, he has to have alcohol or some type of drug in order to give him that courage and confidence. When it's already there, it's not the drug or anything like that that's speaking. The drug alters the person. The alcohol alters the person, and it changes their mind. It alters their mind into thinking that they are exactly what it is that they're already thinking. And that's the misconception people have. People have the misconception that it's these drugs and the alcohol that's causing this person to be better, when it's actually the damn person. It's not a bottle of Modelo that's hollering at the girl across the bar. No, it's not a bottle of Modelo that's talking to the woman. It's you. The Modelo just helps you shut the fuck up on the conscious side. It helps your conscious mind shut up. That's all it does. But again, as a reminder, these are our minds. So we can control them and tell them what to do. You don't need alcohol or any drug to tell you that you're an awesome individual. Nothing can tell you that but you. Why do we feel like we have to win the approval of external things? You have people, you have the addictions, you have all of these material things that should, to you, represent the person that you are. But all of these things, they're superficial. They're superficial to your problem, to the issue, to whatever it is that makes you uncomfortable in life. They're irrelevant. It doesn't matter. None of this stuff matters. You know, I'm going to write a book, and it's going to be called How to Not Give a Shit. Because the problem with people who are addicted is that they give too many shits about life. Yes, we should care, especially about each other, but we give too much energy and power to the things that don't need it or require it. A car needs gas and a battery to work, and oil and other little things. Okay, great. So when you're driving a car, those are the things that you concern yourself with. Does my car have enough gas? Does my car have enough oil? All of these things. When you're driving a car, these are constants. You have a little oil change sticker in the window to remind you when to get your oil changed. Like, all these little helpers in life for auto care are out there. We need to look at that for ourselves. Do we do daily check-ins? Do we do anything other than just eat or work? Like, we know that we have to eat, so it's an autopilot. So you make a sandwich or two, some soup, whatever, you eat. And that's that. But what about your mind? Are you doing check-ins for that? Are you feeding your mind the right things? Are you making sure it has the gas to go, the oil, and to lubricate those gears that turn? Like, do you check in to make sure you have these things? Do you look in there to make sure that you're putting the right things in these areas? We can't always just be automated on autopilot going through life. We can't be androids. We're human beings. But at the same time, we don't have to derail ourselves by adding in drugs and alcohol. That's something else we have to sit there and try to fix, or try to make sense of, or try to work into our lives. It's just extra. It's an extra worry. Think about the addict. Where am I going to get the money from to get my drug? Because, oh my God, I'm coming down off my high. And the withdrawals from it are worse than needing it. So what am I going to do? These are the things that these people have to deal with. Just like a car breaks down when it doesn't have those things that I mentioned, the gas, the oil. We break down when we aren't putting good shit in our bodies. What happens to people who smoke excessively for 50, 60 years? They get lung cancer. And we all know what happens from there. It may not be a good recovery. If it's a great recovery, fine. But there are less people who recover fully and lead normal lives than people who have not come out unscathed. There are people who have trach boxes, people who still have to deal with chemo in some fashion, or will never be able to do things the same way. I had an uncle like that. He had angina, and then it turned into him losing a lung. And then the other lung that was left only lasted him a few years. And he died not too long ago. So we need to realize that the highs that we think we're getting from all of these low vibrating things ends up with repercussions. For those individuals who don't understand why they're addicted to something, they have to understand what an addiction is. My personal definition of addiction is the need to escape the current reality until you get closer to it. And it will allow us to do so much more. So the escape from current reality is the soul trying to, it's like when you run away as a kid, a teenager. You hate the rules of the house. You hate being told what to do. You hate all of this crazy, mess that teenagers hate. Okay. So you run away. And when you run away, you find out it's so difficult. You run away to try to do your own thing. You run away to try to live your own life. And then you realize that you can't. It's not as easy as you thought. You think you could just go and do whatever when you were a teenager, but you have no job, no money, no skills. What are you going to do exactly? Then trying to tell a teenager that is like beating your head against a brick wall. So it's the same for us. It's like our souls are here to do a job, but because we have lost our way as humankind and coming into this, even though we're innocent as babies, we have come as lost souls and we have to find our way. And when those souls have gone through so many changes and so much, it's easy for that soul to get derailed and want to do its own thing. Those souls who try to do their own things always end up on the wrong path, because the path set out for them when they were put here is the path that they're supposed to follow. It's going to be hard, but it's only to toughen us. There are people who are on that path who cannot gain the strength to fight to the end and to stay on that path. And that's where these addictions and things come in. Because when you're on that path, yes, life may be a little difficult, but it's for a purpose. The path will not be horrendous. It will never kill you. It will never do anything that you can't survive. And then that feeling of that path is that you're protected and that you're okay. So that's why it's okay to stay on that path. And people feel like God has their back when they're on that path, even though they may stumble and fall. It's like, when your parent tries to help you ride a bicycle or tricycle or something for the first time, they stand there right beside you, walking right with you and holding the chair, and then they help you maintain balance. And then they see you going, and then they let go. That's what God does. He will always have your back until he knows that you can walk on your own 2 feet. It's not like he dropped us here and expect us to just handle this on our own. We're lost in the sense that we have to find ourselves again. Throughout this journey, we have to figure out who we were in order to let our light shine in this life and do what we're supposed to do here, so we don't have to come back and do it again. So those individuals who struggle with addictions also almost always struggle with some type of disconnect in life, whether it's spiritual or loneliness, fear, like whatever the thing is that these people are trying to quell with the drugs and the alcohol, whatever it is. These things are soul things, because nobody's ever going to take up a whole addiction, something that tiny. They're not going to endanger their entire lives with that. It has to be something that's larger and have them thrown out on the streets. Would rather see them fail on the streets than fail in the comfort of their home. They ran to the only thing that gave them comfort and happiness. When you have that, when you're totally, we'll use the abandonment as the example here. When you have total abandonment, your family doesn't want you, your parents don't want you, your siblings are estranged, you feel completely disconnected from your community. You feel disconnected from what you've known all your life, like you're actually alone in the world. And that could be very intimidating for some people. And that in order for them to be able to walk amongst everyone without those feelings, they have to be drugged up out of their minds, or they have to drink in order for them to function. Like, there are so many problems out there in the world. It's causing so much negative energy and feedback. It's reverberating through. And it's why we have the problems that we have now. It's all energy. It's all energy. It's not the fact that a person can make war with another country. It's the fact that the wrong people are entitled to these things, to these powers. You have someone that could have a bad day and press the red button and nuke the whole planet. These people shouldn't have this power. That's for God to make. If he wants to destroy a whole land of people, then that's his prerogative. It is not up to us because one of them pissed you off. No. So that's part of the problem. Like, a lot of the issues in the world are caused by other people and about these dark forces, these lower vibrating energies. And those of us who are vibrating higher cannot move forward, cannot do the things that we're supposed to do here on this planet if we're constantly fighting negative dark forces. It just doesn't happen that way. We can't do the most good. We can't be at our highest potential if we're not fixing what's wrong inside. If we can connect that disconnect, we won't need those things. It's kind of like a circuit. When you have a broken circuit, what does it get? No power, nothing runs through, no current, nothing. Nothing flows. It's just dead. But when those connections are there, when they're connected and sealed, you have all the power and the currents running through. And whatever it is working, and it's doing what it's supposed to do. Same applies to us. Like, everything in life and in nature applies to our lives. We aren't just people who have dominion over the earth. No. Like, we're all supposed to be here together, and we all work together with nature, with other people. We're supposed to put all of that together and work together, but we aren't doing that. It's individualistic, not collective, and that's the problem. Love is something that when it's taken, it hurts. That's why people are afraid to love. They're afraid to give their love unconditionally. If anything were to happen and that love is taken from them, then they'll be hurt. And hurt is what people try to avoid. No one wants to hurt. It's painful. It's pain. No one wants to feel pain. Not that kind of pain anyway. So we fear love. When we fear love, we don't give love. And in essence, we also don't receive it. We can't receive love if we're blocking it in every way. If we're blocking giving it, we're blocking receiving it. So of course you're not going to experience love. And then with that missing love, what happens? You become a bitter person inside. Black on the inside, heavy, never happy when you're missing love. And that's what's going on right now. We're empty. We feel empty. We feel like we're missing something. We're trying to fill void. So what do? We become addicted to a drug, alcohol, TV, food, another person. Whatever it is, we develop a codependent relationship with and can't function without because we're trying to fill those voids. Instead of trying to figure out what it is that we're missing. That's what happens when you lose your connection to God. When you lose everything that God has been trying to instill in us all of this time. That all we need is God's love. We don't need anything else to try to fill those voids because nothing else is permanent like love. Material things, of course, they go away at some point. Food, you consume it. Whatever it is, if you shop, whatever you shop for, you're going to consume it. Unless you're a hoarder, but that's another story. Those things, they're not permanent. They fall away. And then what do? We get sad again because they're gone. And the love or whatever that void was, it's back. And we fall into despondency. And then now we're looking for something to fill that hole again. As opposed to finding our connection and filling that hole with that connection. And once that connection is back, you'll remember to never let it go. Because you don't want to go through that pain again. You don't want to go through those feelings of missing something, of being void. You don't. It hurts. And that's what that is. We're missing God's pure love because we're blocking it. We're blocking it from coming in completely. We're blocking receiving it because we're not giving it. So stop being sad because you did not get the house or job you wanted. The universe is something better for you. The time you waste on being sad is time you waste not living, being disconnected from God, and not experiencing true fulfillment and happiness. Stop worrying about your electric bill. Stop worrying about things that aren't there or have not happened yet. Stop worrying about any and everything. In short, stop worrying and stop giving a shit. The end. No more, no less. It's actually easy, but we don't like to do easy things, clearly. People give themselves anxiety and stress themselves into an aneurysm over the same shit over and over and never seem to get the lesson. These same people cry and whine about the fact that they have these stresses. Does worrying help you think through and solve the problem sensibly? Or does it give you more anxiety, depression, hives, or ulcers? You instantly let your day be ruined because a bill collector called. Why? What can they do if your credit card or mortgage is overdue? Come to your house and beat you to death in your sleep? Some people get petrified by bills every single month, over and over and over again. It is a learned habit based on the crippling fear of insecurity or loss of socioeconomic status, which sometimes stems from judgments of other people anyway, but more on that in subsequent chapters. People stress over their health. As long as you are doing what you are supposed to do health-wise, eat healthy, exercise, maintain a healthy weight, not stress at all, you will be okay. If a major illness develops, then connect with God and make sure your soul is ready. If God wants you, then shit your ass can do to stop her. So why worry when you cannot do anything to change her will? If God needs you here, then the illness will go away as quickly as it came. We have seen some irony in this pandemic. It has taken some relatively healthy people longer to recover or out of this world completely. We can never know what God has planned, but we cannot live a life full of anxiety because of the unknown. That is why faith in God is so important, more important than faith in our own problems. We have faith in our employers who can impose layoffs at any moment, paying us on Friday, but don't believe God can remove the sources of our anxieties. Leave our troubles at her feet, and we will be okay is what is taught. We have to have faith and comfort in that. Nevertheless, giving a shit about the wrong things is an unhealthy earthly thing that will not matter later on. So stop giving a shit. Be carefree and help others do the same. It costs you nothing to do this, but everything if you don't.